Hey. Oh, man. All right, we got it. Thank you, Chance, for teaching me about the refresh button. So what I was saying is that I'm going to teach you how to look at muscles based off of why we need them. Okay, muscles they pull, and they pull in specific directions of motion. So if you put your arms out straight, okay, and I said, what muscles would you need to keep your hand straight if I wanted to push you down? Don't let me push you down. Don't let me push you down. Don't let me push you down. He would need muscles that are pulling up to prevent me from pushing down. He didn't have to think about it. You just knew. Don't let me move your hands. Don't let me pull them out. Don't let me pull them out. Don't let me put them out. Come on, come on, come on. He needs muscles that are pulling in because I'm trying to pull his hands out. Don't let me push your hands up. Don't let me push them up. You need muscles that are pulling down because I'm trying to push you up. You didn't say, I need to recruit Timmy, Bobby, Sal. You didn't say I need to recruit my super spinatus. None of that. It's just you know which muscles to recruit. Don't let me push your hands in because you know why you need to recruit them. That's it. So the point is, instead of going into pecs and glutes and quads and hams and cores, no. Because everybody else plays that game. Glutes and hams and quads and hams and cores. One time I was, when I first got here, I joined, I'm not going to say the name of the business. It's a great business. The guy's an amazing person, but I'm not going to say the name of the fitness place, but it rhymes with Fred's. And I had a student that was working, and we had a test coming up. And I went to her as a joke, and I was like, ma'am, I was doing some exercises, and I'm just curious, what muscles am I working when I do this exercise? And she was actually studying for her muscles. I kid you not. Maybe I'm embellishing the details for fun, but there was like a puff of smoke, and this personal trainer came in on a zip line and said, excuse me, sir, I overheard you asking that question, and the answer is the forearm muscles. And she's just like, oh my God. And my reply was, thank you. Very insightful. I didn't realize it was forearm muscles. Appreciate it. I walked off. Anybody can be a personal trainer, guys. You could get certified through Kellogg's Corn Flakes and call yourself a certified personal trainer. Anybody can lift. Okay? There's a lot of people out there that think they know this stuff. I'm going to teach you this stuff, how things really work. If I'm trying to push Chance's hand down, that's not affecting necessarily your hand, that's affecting your shoulder, right? I was trying to extend your shoulder. True? I was pushing in a direction of shoulder extension. You needed muscles that were pulling in a direction of shoulder flexion. You needed shoulder flexion pullers to keep that hand in that position. True? That's all we're at right now. Knowing who you needed because you understand why you need them. In this case, I was trying to pull your hands apart. I was trying to horizontally abduct your shoulder. True? You needed muscles that were pulling in a direction of horizontal adduction. You needed horizontal shoulder adduction pullers to keep that hand in that position. Campbell, why don't we say pecs? What about the other muscles that are working in that exercise? And you're going to have some pecs that don't even work at the shoulder. They're scapular pullers, pec minor, and stuff like that. We will get to the individual players on the team. I need you to see the team. Who do we need? Because you understand why we need them. It should make sense why we spend so much time on joint motion, because there's as many groups of muscles as there are joint motions. Your ankle plantar and dorsiflexes, we need dorsiflexion pullers and plantar flexion pullers to influence motion at the ankle. Our subtalar joint inverts and everts, I need inversion pullers and I need eversion pullers. When will I know who I need? Because you will see why we need them. Just using gravity, do I need abduction pullers or adduction pullers to hold my arms out? Yeah, I need ones that are pulling up. But if I was upside down, if I was that man, and I held my arms out, I wouldn't need abduction pullers. I'd need adduction pullers, because gravity would be trying to do this. So I would need muscles that are trying to pull there. We don't assume, okay? Who do you need because you see why you need them? All of our initial examples are going to be isometric because isometrics are the easiest. The elevator stopped. Motion's not getting in the way. Gravity's trying to pull the elevator down. I need the elevator to pull up. Bang. Then we'll get into movement to emphasize the contraction variations. Okay? Who do you need because of understanding why you need them? So all of our agonists, all of our muscles will be group concepts, because the group concept teaches you to understand who you need to pull. Hamstrings don't tell you what direction to pull. Quads don't tell you what direction to pull. Vastus medialis doesn't tell you direction to pull. Sternocleidomastoid doesn't tell you direction to pull. So I hate this word. But I gotta use it anyway. Let's move a little less. So check this out. I'll give you an example. Doink, doink, bang. What do they call this machine? A leg extension machine, right? Leg. And that's okay for them to do it. I'm not saying you got to go and say, correct it. We just have to understand that the motion that we're going to have is at our knees, true, and the specific motion is going to be a fluctuation between flexion and extension. Flexion and extension, not just extension. So where this stuff tricks us, have y'all not had enough illusions so far to understand that things trick us with the movement stuff? I think I've set a precedent of illusions. Where this stuff tricks us is that when we are younger and before we understand how muscles work, we have a machine called an extension machine, and it's working muscles that we know are the quads. So what we do is we're Pavlovian, man. Ring the bell, we salivate. We say, when I see extension, must be quads. Any kind of extension. And the reverse engineering of that illusion is, when I see flexion, that must be hamstrings. So I have some students that don't understand that I'm not doing quads when I extend. They think I'm doing hamstrings when I flex. Because they're like, well, why wouldn't it be hamstrings? You're flexing. Is this making sense? All right? However, if we look at it a little differently and we say, what is this machine trying to do to my knees? Wouldn't the padding be trying to flex my knees? The last muscles I need are muscles that are also trying to flex me. I literally pull my shit away from the padding. I need, no pun intended, knee extension pullers. I need knee extensors working up against the machine that's trying to flex me, just like I did with chains. True? You felt that. So isometrically, these knee extensors are going to be working to maintain that position to prevent the padding from flexing the knees. And they're doing a job above rest. He can't, no matter how strong he is, he can't hold that position all day. Eventually he's going to get tired. I need to recruit to do a job knee extension pullers. Who are those muscles? We're going to go into detail in biomechanics. I'm going to teach you about the vastus medialis, lateralis, intermedius, rectus femoris. But right now, who cares? None of those names infer what they do and why we need them. If you don't understand why we need the muscles, you're going to be no different than forearm muscle guy. And you're going to be like working the glutes and the quads and the hams and the core. And guys, there's going to be times when you're working professionally where there's going to be contraindications. There's going to be certain muscles you don't want to work. There's going to be certain muscles you need to emphasize, isolate. How do you know if you're working certain muscles? How do you know if you're recruiting certain things if we don't see why? The why is the important thing here, guys. The next level, once we get after our first test, is going to be, okay, we understand that in this exercise, we're working extension pullers in the knee because we see why we need to, right? The next level is going to be, okay, well, what if you observe extension? I'm going to teach you to instantaneously understand that must be concentric contraction of those extensors. And I'm going to teach you, well, what if we see flexion? You're going to be like, that must be eccentric contraction of those extensors. I'm going to teach you this. But to identify agonists, we have to look at direction of pull. Let's try something like this. We know darn well that this exercise is not working bicep, right? It's working tricep. But the word tricep doesn't tell us direction of pull. That's a specific name. Just like Johnny doesn't tell me if that person's a carpenter or a plumber or what's the job. What does it do? Tricep is a name. What does it do? It's an extension puller at the elbow. It pulls in the direction of extension. The reason we need this muscle and another muscle I'm going to teach you in biomechanics called the KNES is because this exercise is trying to flex me. So it's not just, it's whatever gravity's trying to do. Gravity's trying to pull the weight stack down, but you have pulleys that are redirecting that force. So if you relax, your hand's going to go up. So many students will say, from here to there is bicep. See what I'm saying? You see the problem? We cannot associate a specific muscle with a specific motion. We can't. We have to have context of contraction. The machine or this exercise is trying to flex my elbows. I need extension pullers, and it's not just the tricep. I need extension pullers. The extension pullers are going to help me isometrically keep my hand still, but I'm going to teach you that if I'm recruiting extension pullers, muscles that are pulling in a direction of elbow extension, if those muscles are doing a job and I observe extension, I observe the motion that those muscles are pulling in a direction in, it must be through concentric contraction. No exceptions. Shortening while trying to shorten while doing a job. Doing what you're trying to do. And then eventually we'll get to, what if you observe flexion in this exercise? No problem. I still know my extensors are working here because the machine's still trying to flex me. So if my extensors are working in this exercise, but I observe flexion, movement in the opposite direction of that muscle's pull, that's what we call a negative. It's the same muscles. The different motion is because of different contraction types. Same external force, same agonistic group. The changes in movement is because of changes in contraction, not changes in muscles. This exercise is trying to flex you the entire time. That's why you need extensors the entire time. Let's do a little different one. at this facility. Boink. Boink, boink. All right, he's holding this position. Let's see how much this is being sunk in. We analyze motion joint by joint. Therefore, we analyze agonist joint by joint. This is going to be a hip exercise. But in these first examples, he's just maintaining this position. What is gravity in this case trying to do to his right hip? Okay, that's all great. What name do we call that? Abduction. Does that make sense? Gravity is trying to abduct this hip. Ladies and gentlemen, if he uses the muscles that pull in the direction of abduction, he would slam his leg to the ground. Does that make sense? Probably not what you want to do in this exercise. If gravity is trying to abduct, he would want to use muscles that are trying to adduct. He would need to use adduction pullers or adductors. Who are those muscles? Who cares? You have muscles in every direction of motion you have. Eventually we'll get to them. Adductor brevis, longus, magnus, gracilis, pectineus. But pectineus doesn't tell me direction of pull in the name. Does that make sense? So it's a lot easier for us to identify the muscles that we need in a group format based on direction of pull. Then I teach you all the ones that pull that way. And that's in 450. Eventually, I'm going to say, all right, in this exercise, you observe adduction. He brings his leg up. You're going to immediately say, that must be concentric contraction. He lowers his leg down. That must be eccentric contraction. I'm going to teach you how to see this consistently. But the reason I'm teaching you this is because, again, in therapy, rehab, heck, even personal training, there's going to be times where the physician or you are going to be like, we need to progress. We have to start off with isometrics, then progress to just concentrics, then slowly progress to eccentrics. You're going to have to be able to set these things up by understanding how muscles work, and they work by pulling. Muscles only pull. Bones can push. Muscles can only pull. How about this one? Good old calf raises. Yeah. And again, guys, for the record, I have zero problem with what we call it. We call it in layman's terms because my dad doesn't have to know what the 7 plantar flexion pullers are, but we do. We do. We have to know what a calf is. I'm not talking about it, the dairy. And we have to understand why it does what it does, why it pulls the way it pulls. All right, what are my external forces? Most of the time, our external forces are going to be ground and gravity. A lot of times gravity, but sometimes it's ground and gravity, meaning the center of planet Earth pulling you down and the ground is preventing you from going there, and so it's kind of compressing you like an accordion. Ground and gravity are trying to do what to your ankles during this exercise? Well, what can the ankles do? What are my 2 options for the ankles? Dorsiflex is one of those. Ground and gravity is either trying to plantar flex me or dorsiflex me. Which one is it? Dorsiflex me. If the exercise is trying to dorsiflex me, the last thing I need are dorsiflexion pullers. I need plantar flexion pullers. I need muscles that pull in the direction of plantar flexion to play tug of war against ground and gravity. Just like if I'm trying to flex you, you need extension pullers. It's no different. Then I'm going to teach you, once you identify your agonist, plantar flexion pullers. When I observe plantar flexion, concentric contraction. When I observe dorsiflexion, eccentric contraction. But the reason we don't, for this stage, the reason we don't say calf, gastroc, soleus, what about the tibialis posterior? What about the flexor hallucis longus? What about the flexor digitorum longus? What about the peroneus longus and the peroneus brevis? It's a group. It's a team. There's multiple muscles there. What if an MRI shows that someone has a contracture of the tibialis posterior? Do you know what to do with that thing? If all you do is carry around a hammer, you're hoping that all your problems are a nail. But in the real world, you're going to have problems that aren't just nails. Tibialis posterior, how does it pull? It's a plantar flexion puller and an inversion puller. So if I want to stretch it, I want to make sure I dorsiflex it, and I want to make sure I evert it. Nothing to do with origin insertion, nothing to do with the name, direction of pull. If I want to stretch hamstrings, I flex the hip. Why? Because the hamstrings are extension pullers. That's why it works. Understanding direction of pull. One more, and then I'll open it up to exam 3 questions. I'm just having way too much fun with this. Yoink. Yoink, yoink. Good one. Yoink. Yoink. All right. In this exercise, she's going to fluctuate between internal and external rotation. Okay. So immediately, just like we did with our manual muscle test, really what it was. I'm going to identify who I need because I understand why I need it. The TheraBand is trying to rotate her shoulder how? Internally or externally? Internally. She doesn't need internal rotators. She needs external rotation pullers. True? If the TheraBand's trying to internally rotate her, she needs muscles that are pulling the other way. In biomechanics, I'm going to teach you who those muscles are. But for now, I just need you to understand that we have muscles in every direction of motion. And so if something's trying to internally rotate me, I need to recruit external rotators. Guys, you know this. Your body knows this. My body doesn't say, wait, who do I need to recruit? Oh, yeah, infraspinatus. Yeah, teres minor, turn on. Yeah, posterior delt. No, you just know because it's off a direction of pull. If you need help, I don't think you really care about the name of the person. You just need someone who's going to help you, whether that's fix your car, save your life. Wait, no, doc, before you save my life, what's your name? So what do you do is more important to understand what you need for now. Okay. I'm going to teach you to see I need external rotation pullers. External rotators, awesome. When I observe external rotation in this exercise, they're going to be working concentrically. And when I observe internal rotation in this exercise, they're going to be working eccentrically. And if I'm holding this position for a photo, they'd be working isometrically. That's what's coming. Any questions? On the test, guys, it's inevitable. I'm going to give this question, and someone's going to tell me that on the way down, actually, you know what I'm trying to say. Someone's going to tell me on the way down, I need hip flexors and I need knee flexors. And I'm like, have fun crashing. Because grounding gravity is already trying to flex my hips and flex my knees. If I use the muscles, chance, if I was going to try to push your arm, your hand away, and you use those same muscles that are doing that, you pull your hand away. Yeah. It's the same thing. If grounding gravity is already trying to buckle your knees, and you start to use muscles that are trying to buckle your knees, you'll literally pull your feet off of the ground. But students will say it because they don't understand, and they'll just say, well, wait, I observe flexion. Why wouldn't it be flexors? We have to look at it from what are the things outside of us trying to do to us, and thus understand what muscles we need to go against it in this first phase. Cool? All right, anybody have any exam 3, unit 3 questions? What you got?
Can you do a couple of the examples with pronation and supination for little movements?
Why don't you ask me example questions, or I look at example questions as help me find things to memorize. Is there a specific question that we've done in the past I can help?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Start here. So you're pointing to the right.
Yes.
Okay. What is your right radial ulnar joint? Let's everybody make sure we understand. Everybody, we're pointing our fingers to our right. Okay. What's the position of your right radial ulnar joint?
Pretty sure it's pronated.
Good. Now move it. Okay. Now what's the position?
Supinated.
Good. The only way to go from being pronated to being supinated is to have.
Supination.
Yes.
Okay. For some reason, I was just messing with.
No. But you see, I walked you down a path. I didn't want to just answer it. Because then, if I do it a different way, I need to get not just you, but everybody to see how these things work, so that you have a tool belt to figure things out. What if I did it a little different? And it's like, oh no, I studied exactly the ones we did in class, and now he did it differently, so I don't know. Where did you start? Where did you end? How did you have to move to get there? Well done.
I know there's a rule of thumb for supination.
The thumb rule. Mm-hmm. The thumb rule is if your thumb is medial, you're prone. And if your thumb is lateral, you are supine. Medial and lateral to what? Your distal humerus. When your thumb is lateral, you're supine. When your thumb is medial, you're prone. And when your thumb is halfway, you're semi-prone. You're welcome. And the reason we can do that is because the wrist doesn't twist. Well done. The wrist doesn't twist. We'd be in a world of hurting if the wrist can twist. We don't want the wrist to twist. There's so much wiring and plumbing in our wrist. We don't want the wrist to spin like a balloon animal that we want all the plumbing to stay lined up. We don't want to kink it and twist it. Good questions, guys. Anything else? Yeah, come
I
on.
don't remember the specific.
That's okay.
But it's another pronation supination.
That's okay.
Your hands went from like somewhere down here to like up in the sky,
Okay.
and like the rotation of it was throwing me off when you did it in class.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what I'm talking about with that example?
I've been teaching this for 20 years. Absolutely, I know what you're talking about. But why don't you show me? That's okay. No, you don't. Your hands are, I think you're there. The reason it's important for you to show me is the same reason why it was important for you to show me here, so that you can feel it, you can see it, you can be like, oh, I get it now. So our hands are at the bottom, okay, great. Are your palms facing me, or are they facing away? Okay, great. Now put your hands at the top, move them to the top, okay, great, all right. Now let's do the exact same thing we did before, bring them back down. Where are you at? Where are you at? Don't answer it, just think about it. Where are you at? What's your position? Are you prone, supinated, semi? Where are you at? Semi? Well, remember, thumb is lateral for supine, midway for semi. Okay? Okay, now let's do it again. Now go back up, okay? Are you prone? Are you still supine?
I think so.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do this. Let's come down this road. Are you still supine?
No. No, I'm prone.
There you go. So what'd you do on the way up? That's how you learn. Well done. Does anybody remember like why you have to pronate when you go up? Because if you didn't, if my shoulder is here and the buttons represent the ventral part of my hand, and I flex, when you see the back of the remote, okay? You see the front of my hand? If I flex, you can see the back of the remote. So when I'm abducting, if I don't pronate, you're going to see the back of the remote. I pronate so that you can still see the front of the remote. Because your radial ulnar joint is canceling your shoulder rotation. As I taught you guys, when you abduct, you have to externally rotate. Two for two. You see the difference though, feeling it and seeing it. And that's what I'm trying to encourage you guys for the test. Like move around, try to figure it out. I never say you have to sit still. Like this isn't elementary school. When we were kids, I hated that. We're kids, we need to move around. All right, as adults, we still need to move around. Anything else? So for those watching the stream, the first question was this one. I'm prone, now I'm supine. Prone, supine, supination. Supine, prone, pronation. And then the second question was, here I'm supine, here I'm prone, so I had to have pronation as I went up. Or another way to look at it is, if I'm trying to keep, if my shoulder, as I do this, if my shoulder is trying to bring the buttons back, as my shoulder's trying to do this, my radial ulnar joint is going to do this. Keep my hand full. Dr. Campbell, can we have a remote control for the test? Heard it all. All right, we're good? Any more questions? Just a quick feedback. How are we feeling on muscles? I know that this stuff is like, well, that's kind of common sense. You would be shocked how many people don't understand common sense when it comes to muscles. All right? All right, y'all have a good one.